How you doing, folks? Welcome back to another episode of BayView Views. Today we're diving into one of the most probably sweeping tax and financial legislation packages in recent memory. And this is the one big, beautiful bill that is getting so much notoriety. Of course, signed into law July 4th, Independence Day. And again, whether you're a retiree or a parent or business owner, again, this bill is likely to affect you. So the CBO, again, which kind of estimates what legislative changes are going to do to the budget, they said it's going to add nearly $3 trillion to the national debt over the next 10 years. But the interesting thing is, when you look at it, they assume that the 2017 TCJA, that's the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, expires at the end of 2025, which is really strange because, of course, this bill extends those tax cuts. So if you actually take the current policy, the CBO estimates that the OBBB will actually decrease deficits by about $508 billion over the next decade. So it's really kind of what you're assuming is a starting point. Remember, most of the tax cuts are extensions from the initial plan put in place back in 2017 from the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Also, what's not getting a lot of recognition is that this bill increased the U.S. debt ceiling by $5 trillion. That's a massive number. And remember, the Treasury was set to hit the debt ceiling as soon as August. So, well, let's start breaking down this bill and see what the changes are and how they could affect you. If we look at seniors and retirees, individuals age 65 and older, so again, it's not everybody, there's a brand new $6,000 senior deduction. And of course, this is even on top of the standard deduction, which was already raised. That brings the 2025 deduction to $23,750 for individuals and then $46,700 for married couples. That's a big number, but again, those are over age 65. And this is the part that something, people misquote. Is not actually cutting taxes on Social Security. Social Security taxes will be reduced for many people, but it's due to the fact that they have this new deduction. However, it starts to phase out. So again, if you make too much money, $75,000 for an individual, $150,000 for a couple, you'll start to lose this deduction. But it does provide, again, a good opportunity to kind of review your income strategies, especially regarding Social Security or even Medicare premiums. Very important to know, to remember that this deduction will actually end at the end of 2028, so it's not a permanent change. What is permanent, however, again, is the estate and the gift tax exemptions. They're permanently now increased to $15 million or $30 million for a couple, and of course that will be indexed to inflation beginning in 2026. But this provides, again, a lot of clarity. We had wondered about what would happen with high net worth families seeking to transfer wealth efficiently. If we look at parents and families, we've got this new Trump account, not a very popular name sometimes, but starting in 2026 for children under 8, we've got this $1,000 now government seed money for babies born between 2024 and 2028. You can also contribute to it, though, $5,000 a year, which will be indexed for inflation. And of course, these funds grow tax deferred. They can be used for all kinds of things: education, first-time home buyer, new business, lots of things when the child turns 18. Additionally, the child tax credit is now permanently increased to $2,200 per child, which is very good. And then 529 plans are now even more flexible. They cover more things: curriculum, tutoring, homeschooling costs, even career credentials, educational therapy for even students with disabilities. So, and it also makes permanent that rollover provision from the 529 plan to ABLE accounts. So that's actually really cool. When we look at workers, they're going to benefit from tax-free treatment up to $25,000 for tips and $12,500 for overtime income on an annual basis if, again, you reach these income thresholds. So great news for really the service industry, professionals, and hourly workers. Again, these deductions, though, they do expire in 2028, so they're not permanent. You're going to get up to 5250, $5,250 in student loan payments made by your employer are now going to be excluded from your income. So, hey, talk to your employer about giving you payments by reducing your student loan debt, and that would be a very tax-efficient way to get some additional income. During a given taxable year, individuals can deduct up to $10,000 now for passenger vehicle loan interest. We used to be able to deduct our loan interest. But again, this is available for passenger vehicles that have been assembled. The final assembly is in the U.S. So we're trying to bring things back to the U.S. to be developed and made. And that has to be purchased between January 1st, 2025 and December 31st, 2028. But this bill does eliminate, for all you electric car purchasers, that $7,500 tax credit that you used to get under the Inflation Reduction Act. Individual taxpayers, the standard deduction, again, is $15,750 for a single, $31,500 for a joint, and that, again, goes through 2028. The SALT deduction is getting a lot of notoriety. Remember, we used to have unlimited, then it was reduced to $10,000. Now it's going to $40,000. But again, this is going to phase out for the very high earners. So if you make too much, you won't have this capability. And really, the SALT mainly impacts those residents of very high tax states like California, New York, New Jersey, etc. On the investment side, businesses benefit from 100% bonus depreciation on U.S. base. Remember, trying to make them come and build things back home, but capital expenditures, software expenditures, and analysts would expect then again that they would lower the overall corporate tax rates. Remember that lower corporate tax rates generally produce or boost productivity, and that could boost stock market performance. For business owners, while we're on that topic, remember, while the statutory corporate tax rate remained the same at 21%, as I said, the new law allows for 100% bonus depreciation, of domestic capital expenditures. That's manufacturing, that's equipment, that's new buildings, software, and again, that's for the next 4 years, and that's going to be retroactive back to the start of 2025. The bill provides for kind of permanent, immediate expensing of research and development, which is a benefit. And then analysts project basically from all of these provisions that it's going to lower the effective corporate tax rate to somewhere around 12 to 14%. And historically, when you have lower corporate tax rates, that leads to more capital spending, and that bodes well for profitability, enhanced productivity, and things like that. And generally, that all leads to faster economic growth, and that's the hope, right, of when you have tax cuts, that it does promote additional GDP growth. So, how do these tax cuts get paid for? And that's really kind of the big question. If you ask the congressman who supports the bill, they would say that the bill is going to start by adjusting federal spending, right? We're going to try to ensure that the assistance programs prioritize those who are truly in need of help and kind of encouraging greater personal responsibility, and also encouraging more state participation. And they would do this by kind of modernizing the benefit systems like SNAP and Medicaid and others that would strengthen, kind of accountability, would promote workforce participation, and kind of help able-bodied adults re-enter the job market and help support their families, which is what they want to do anyway. With regards to energy, the government is kind of redirecting the tax incentives to reward the clean energy programs and investments that are ready to go now, ensuring that we try to do smarter and more timely use of taxpayer dollars today. So this bill is kind of about streamlining government programs, cutting unnecessary spending, which, if you think about it, that was entirely what DOGE was all about in the first place. If you look at government spending year to date, it's up about 7% over 2024. So we're not heading in the right direction so far. But the real test will be how much of spending cuts that we actually put in place in the next fiscal year, right? So these changes, they present some opportunities, but they also represent some challenges. But for you individually, whether it's optimizing retirement or funding education, planning your legacy, this legislation should be a catalyst to kind of revisit your financial plan. That's a lot of data, we know, but again, hope we brought some clarity to it. Thanks again for watching another episode of BayView Views. Have an awesome day, my friends.